For Lowe's a long time ago.
Okay. Here's my advice on well visits. Please get your child seen at least once a year.
They'll leave you alone.
Because if at any point in your history, let's say your child is 7 and they fracture their leg and it happened at home falling off a bunk bed, okay? Now you don't have any witnesses, this is what you're claiming. Then they find out that they may or may not have everything that they deem that they should have. They're going to open up a case against you. And if that case is opened up and you've never taken them to a pediatrician, you're not on record with anyone, your likelihood of having medical kidnapping increases by like 80%. So it's labeled as neglect. So you need to take your kid to these well visits. I don't think you need to take them to every 35 of them.
Yeah.
But
I can get her seen for like the 1.5.
yeah,
Right.
as a baby, I would do at least 6 months in a year, and then I would do every year after that, no matter what.
Do every 6 months
Yes.
just to have a
Yes, you just
Hazel needs to do one too.
yes, you just need to have that paperwork on file, guys. It's best to have it and not need it than not have it and be and needing to pay for lawyers and stuff like that. Because also the worst thing is they'll medically kidnap them. And then they'll go into the foster system. So you don't know who they're going to be with. You don't know any of that stuff. So if we're going to play this crunchy mom game, we just need to play it intelligently. It's a game of chess. But and that's why I think we're so like, let's just see how this goes before we even go to the medical. Because once you step through the doors, you lose power. And so unless God puts a nurse or a doctor there that is on your team, you are going to fight the entire time you're there, which is the other reason that I tell people all the time, like, hey, when you go,
What's on the list, and then we'll see.
Yeah.
And then I could get a well check scheduled for her 18 months.
or you could do it here, and then do it when you come back.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We see Bluebird.
And they do virtual.
Mm-hmm.
They'll do virtual if you need it.
That's the one in St. Augustine with Tiffany.
Yeah, Tiffany and Julie, and they will also come to your house. It's a pretty penny, but again, it's really worth it. It's really worth it. A pediatrician who doesn't panic when you call that your child's in a fever and say like medicate immediately is a pediatrician with 2 thumbs up in my book. Oh yeah, that's our phone. Yeah, they're really awesome. That's what I would do. But yeah, it's hard to navigate illness. But if your kids still themselves, and Nora was herself, she was just her sad self. And she needed a nap at the same time, so everything was like exclamation points.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. A lot of these are close. Like I'm leaning toward like the one in Somerville because that seems like a cute little area to go to. I was looking at places there, but nobody was responding, so we ended up in Winthrop. But you know, Winthrop's really nice. I just don't see any providers there.
Yeah, what I would do is I would just try to find out about the doctor, how many kids they have.
What you doing?
Yeah, and then you know it's like a super liberal state.
She's fine.
Oh, you can sit there.
It's so liberal. I go on their website. It's like we offer transgender care, and it's like oh my god.
Yeah.
Lord, like, but then it's like
He
I don't
only
know.
says suave.
Homer's like, what's happening?
He's like, no one else is giving me attention, so I'm gonna just.
I should definitely take Hazel to the doctor.
Yes. Just to have a record.
I stopped
Not-
going once they started really bothering me about
something
her weight.
Yeah. But I also think that's a great boundary because one of the things is that like babies are supposed to stay on the spectrum, but Karen was decent in height. She was like 80% in weight, but in height she went from 80% to 75% to 10%. So when Karen was 1.5 or 2, she was in the 10th percentile in height. Basically, she was a midget. Now she's starting to catch up. So if we went back, she would have a big growth spurt.
Yeah.
So
We also switched pediatricians for each other. Jamie Webster, maybe that's what her staff is absolute trash. So we stopped going to every 6 months.
Yes.
Oh,
Just gonna put it here.
She's like literally terrified. I want to just take her to the dentist appointment so
Oh,
she can
yep.
like, oh boy.
Yeah.
See, but she's usually not awake.
But Julie and Tiffany come to your house, and
Yeah,
Julie.
they're also like way on my purse earnings and it's free.
Yes.
So
But the other
And
thing
Rachel
I would
Evans
ask.
takes insurance too.
Yeah,
so-
but have her
great.
ask if they can do it to Mama Sloth. Weigh them, measure them, all that stuff, and then it's like, okay, now it's Hobie's turn, and now it's Hazel's turn, and it's like, and I know it's going to be a thing, but again, the number one
now
way.
she can only stand on her own scale.
Yes. The way to do it is to have the crack cocaine snack. Okay? You get this crack cocaine snack. And I mean the snack that they love, not actually crack cocaine to those listening online. But that is such a big tool. Like, so people are like, I can't drop my kid off at church. Honora was like, I don't want to go to church. I'm like, you love it once we leave. But now I hand her to one lady, and in the other hand, I give her BAR. And Nora's like, let's go. I'll go anywhere with you, Chica. Like, no problem.
Not that person. No snack will make her go somewhere.
Yeah, the food motivation is nice.
Yeah.
It's nice for the car, but it doesn't get her with other people.
Sorry.
It won't always be that way.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we're going to talk today about praise and basically how it ruins your kids.
Use that as a trailer, Jewel. I get lots of people watching.
But also how it's ruined us. And you can jump. Go ahead. But it is a
A little diabolical, Jewel.
it is yes, do it. You can go.
Ruined us.
It has ruined us. So the thing that we wrote on the title was intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. So an example of intrinsic motivation is
See him right there.
I want my room to be clean because it makes me feel peaceful. Extrinsic motivation is my room needs to be clean because my mom is going to ground me. Okay? I want to do well on this test because I want to have good grades. I like that to be a part of my thing. I need to do well on this test because if I don't do well on the test, my mother and father aren't gonna be proud of me.
Do you count the penguins? That's
Yeah,
all
you can
special.
read it to Hobie.
Just find all the penguins.
And so a lot
Find them here.
we are very we are very cringy when people say like good job and good boy and you did it and like those things. You did it is pretty safe, but a lot of people say good job. Good job is pretty much the hardest thing to break.
Especially with grandparents.
Yeah, especially now. And here's the other thing I'll tell you: you can't control what your parents say,
Thank you.
but also your kids aren't going to be living their life for their grandparents. So if you like, I wouldn't get in a fight with your parents over saying good job or not. But if you start modeling how you want to say, like, so one of the things, and this was something we worked so hard on with Vincent, and I feel like we're pretty great about it now, right?
Keep going.
About saying like, you went down the slide, and so instead of
I had a
saying
lot
like,
of training.
we had to train ourselves so hard.
It's hard.
But to say like, just be like, look, you stood, you walked, you're doing it, like, right? You jumped, and you'll literally choke on the word good job. And then the other thing is just like, Vincent will say to me, Mommy, I colored this, do you like it? And I'll be like, well, how do you feel about it, buddy? And he's like, but I want to know if you like it. And I said, I like that you drew it for me. I like what you did here. I like the colors that you used. But like somebody was here the other day and their daughter was drawing. It's just an incredible drawing. And she's like, you are doing so good. You are the best artist I've ever seen. And in my head, I'm like, red alert, red alert. And I'm like, it's not my kid. It's totally fine. And again, you're not going to ruin your child. But if your child is only going to draw to make you say, you're the best artist I've ever seen, this is perfect, then they start to draw not out of joy and imagination, but for performance. And when we do that, we are making it about, you jumped, look, Nadia fixed it. Will you turn it the other way, Nadia? So, thanks girl, you're the best. Maybe back it up to the door. And then that way it won't.
I also feel like the significance of it is what's on the other end of that praise. Because it's not that the praise in and of itself is bad. Carol Dweck talks about this in the book called Mindset, where they studied kids in second or third grade, and they gave them math problems that were way too complicated for them to figure out. And one group, they praised them about how smart they were in math, and they're like, man, you're so good at math, you're so smart. The other group, they said, man, you work so hard. And so they gave them a problem that was impossible to solve, and the kids that were praised based off of how smart they were, they gave up way faster than kids who were praised for their hard work, because they were like, well, if I'm not smart enough, I'm so smart that I could figure everything out. If I can't figure this out, I must not be smart enough to do it. And so I think the rationale behind us, and again, you guys feel free to do whatever you want, but like our rationale behind not wanting to praise for the completion of a thing is because in life there's often not completion. Like I was talking to somebody, maybe it was Shell, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and like it's just so hard because even Bridget, like she worked for hours yesterday cleaning the house, and then within 5 or 10 minutes the kids destroyed everything. And so if she felt praise and satisfaction from a clean house, then she was like, I'm never gonna get there. But if you can feel praise and satisfaction in working to clean the house or to create an environment that the kids can enjoy in but still not be super chaotic, then that's where there could be some fine line as opposed to like what you're working for and what you're working towards. Because again, like for us, I want our kids to work hard for the sake of working hard. Like we just work hard because that's what we're called to do. Like we're not called to be lazy. And so even if something is hard, you still need to persevere through it because life is hard. But if we just praise them for a completed thing, again, good job, then there's not that intermediary.
So Vin had me read this section of this book. It's a really great book. It says how to talk so kids will listen and how to listen so kids will talk.
Yeah.
Because again, we're hyper fixated, right? Like hyper fixated on them listening to us, but we never think about that what we're doing today gets them to want to talk to us. And I think we can all think of a time where we were like, I don't want to talk to my mom about this, right? And so like having the goal, and this is the thing, people are like, oh, if you let them sleep in your bed, they're going to be sleeping in your bed till they go to college. And people are like, well, actually, I would really like it if my 15-year-old felt comfortable enough to come into my bed and tell me the first time their heart was broken, right? Or like they were going through something, like they felt like this was a safe place. Like still at 7 years old, Vincent will wake up in the morning and he'll come in and he wants to get mama snuggles and he wants to talk to me. He's like, I had a scary dream last night. I said, oh man, what was in it? He's like, everyone died except me and Honora. And I was like, he was like, I saved her. And I was like, yeah, that's what the dream that he had. Out orange? And so we're not always thinking about how to make them listen. We also want to think about how they talk. And then in this story, did you have me read it because you wanted me to feel convicted, or is that just all on me?
That is all on you.
Okay.
I wanted you to be able to share the story with the ladies because I would forget the details.
So it tells this story. It tells the story of two boys, one named Bruce and one named David. Which Bruce is like my favorite name. It's my brother and my dad and my nephew's name. So I was like, oh, I love this. So in Bruce's family, he woke up and his mom was like, he came to breakfast and his mom was like, you're dressed, but you forgot your shoes. And then he went to go eat, and she was like, you have a tear in your pants. Go change them right now. You can't go to the school looking like that. Like, not a kid of mine is going to do that. And then then he went to go pour his juice, and she's like, you better not spill it. And then he spilled it. And then he mumbled, and she goes, oh, you're always mumbling. You're always mumbling, blah, blah, blah. And then so he goes and changes pants. He gets his shoes on. He gets his stuff. He goes to school. And he forgets his lunch. So she screams out the door, you forgot your lunch. If your head wasn't screwed on, you'd probably forget that too. And she says that stuff. And Nora, yeah. And you're like thinking about like, wow, what a mean lady. But like as I was reading this, I was feeling very convicted about how I talk to Karen. Because I have a lot of bandwidth for Vincent and I have a ton of bandwidth for Honora because she's a baby. But I don't have a lot of bandwidth for Karen. She is like, me and her have the hardest relationship, and he has his hardest relationship with Vincent. And so Bruce went to school with that as his morning. So then the other story is the story of this kid named David. And David's mom, he comes to the table dressed and she goes, oh wow, you're already dressed. You just forgot your shoes. So just like Bruce forgot his shoes, but what did his mom say? Like, oh, you can't even put your shoes on. Which in my head, I'm like, you shouldn't wear your shoes in the house. You got it.
A baby doll.
So then David spills the juice and his mom's like, there's a rag right there to clean it up. Then he gets his stuff together and she goes, oh, I see that your pants are ripped. Do you want me to sew it while you're wearing them or do you want to just go change? And he goes, I'd rather change. And she's like, all right, cool. So I'll sew it while you're at school. And then he forgets his lunch and she goes, hey, buddy, you forgot your lunch. Here it is. And he goes off to school. So then it says at school that day, the teacher said, hey, we're going to be doing this play. And there's 3 roles that everyone gets to do. There's people that need to go and tell the other classrooms that we're doing the play at what time. There's people who are going to be in the play, and there was something else. And it says, and there was like who are going to speak lines and something else. And they said, who wants to do it? And half the kids raised their hand like, oh, I want to do something. Some kids raised their hand tentatively. And then a third of the kids didn't raise their hand at all. And then it asks you in the book, bless you, what do you think Bruce and David did? It's like who went to school with confidence that day and who didn't. And then it goes on in the paragraph to say the most powerful person that speaks into your life is yourself. Like you are your own worst enemy. You are your own biggest yeller, right? You're the one that puts yourself down, that says you don't do a good job. But the voice that was created as a child and it was built in you by your parents. And that doesn't mean you can't change your voice. But if you always messed up and performance was the only tool that you had to gain affection with your family, then you're going to turn out to be a certain kind of adult. If nobody cared what you did and nobody spoke life into you and you just got to make decisions and you learned the hard way because you messed stuff up, that there's good and there's bad to that, right? Because you don't feel like you're beholden to caring about anybody else's opinion, but you do know that you can mess up. And then there's the people who everything was made okay for, right? Like, oh, it's okay that you didn't do this, or, oh, you don't like baseball, you can quit, or, oh, you don't want to do this, or you didn't feel like doing piano this week, like, it's fine. Like, that permissive, that part is also going to make a certain kind of person. And so going back to how we praise our kids, what we want to create in them, and this is also in the book, The Whole Brain Child, what we want to create in them is the way to motivate themselves is to be a good person, because we are inherently good people, right? There's a whole religious thing where people are like, you're born with original sin, you're a sinner. Yes, we all sin. No one teaches a 3-year-old how to lie, right? They just do it, but it's self-preservation. Thanks, baby. Let's not do this too much, okay? But what we're focused on is why is my kid doing things? What do I want them to think and say on the inside? And how is what I'm thinking and saying? And we're all going to mess up. But if we go back to Dr. Bridget's favorite statistical factoid, which is you only have to get parenting right 3 out of every 10 times you do it. So you can screw up 7 times, and if 3 of them were good, 3 of them you didn't lose your mind, 3 of them you didn't scream, 3 of them you didn't say good job, you're winning.
Ask if he wants to play first.
Statistically.
She might want to play.
You got more?
Well, yeah, one of the things that it said about external praise, they gave 3 situations, and then they said, well, how would you feel based off of the praise? So situation 1 was, you have an unexpected guest for dinner, you heat a can of cream of chicken soup, add some leftover chicken, and serve it over minute rice. Your guest says, you're a great cook. What is your inner reaction to that? Yeah.
I'd be like, I didn't cook it.
Situation 2 was, you just change out of your sweater and jeans into a new outfit to go to an important meeting. An acquaintance approaches you, looks you over and says, you're always so beautifully dressed. Same thing. What is your inner reaction?
Yeah.
Then the third one says you're taking an adult education course. After a lively class discussion in which you participate, another student comes up to you and says, "You have a brilliant mind. What is your inner dialogue?" And then the fourth one says, "You've just started learning how to play tennis, and hard as you try, you still aren't making any progress with your serve. The ball usually goes in the net or over the court. Today you're playing doubles with a new partner, and your first serve lands where you hope it will. Your partner comments, 'Hey, you've got a perfect serve.'" And so then it says, "You've probably discovered for yourself some of the built-in problems of praise. Along with some good feelings can come other reactions. Praise can make you doubt the praiser. If she thinks I'm a good cook, she's either lying or knows nothing about good food. Praise can lead to immediate denial. Always beautifully dressed? You should have seen me an hour ago. Praise can be threatening, but how will I look at the next meeting? Praise can force you to focus on your weakness. Brilliant mind, are you kidding? I still can't add a column of figures. Praise can add anxiety and interfere with activity. I'll never be able to hit the ball like that again. Now I'm really uptight. Praise can also be experienced as manipulation. What does this person want from me?" And that's the part where I don't know if we're screwed up because of praise and like we have our inner reactions. Because as I was reading that, I was thinking how I would feel, and I felt a certain way. I was like, I don't know if Bridget would feel the same way that I would feel. And I feel like she would just take it as praise and be happy with it.
Honestly, I'm just like, I would literally just be like, oh yeah, you should. That would have been that person.
Right.
It's like, you should have seen me an hour ago.
Right,
Like,
right,
lucky I washed my hair today.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah, but so when people say like, "Oh, I love your dress," and I'm like, "It has pockets," like I'm like, "Isn't it great?" And so we grew up in very different households, and Vincent's household is very focused on performance.
Musica.
Like he saw his oldest brother get grounded for the entire summer based off of grades, and he was like, "That's never gonna be me."
We're not going in a room. We're not getting adjusted. We're here to chat.
To hang out with our friends. And so in my family was just like, I will feel like, well, this might hurt my mom's feelings, but she's in heaven. But it was just like, don't take up too much space. Like, but not in like a super negative way, but just like, you have your responsibilities. Don't make my life harder. Like, I love you and I want to hang out with you, but like, if you make dinner, you have to clean it up. If you have laundry, you need to do it. If you have drama, you need to figure out how to get there and get home. Like, get a ride. And so I had a very self-sufficient life. But also my mom was like, I remember my mom loved my hair, and she'd always be like, "Your hair looks like spun gold. You're so beautiful. I love you so much, Bridget." Like, and she goes, I was the only kid my mom knew what she was having. Like, she had all surprises, but they did an amniocentesis with me, which, because my mom was 36, they were like, "Your baby's gonna have Down syndrome and lots of genetic abnormalities. You're ancient. You should probably not. You should abort. Like, so let's do this thing." So they scared her into it. So she had me on. So I'm the only baby she ever knew what I was. So she knew my name. She had all this stuff, and so she's like, it was fun to know that you were a girl, and to pick out your name and to have all that stuff. And so she always said these like really wonderful things that made me feel like my mom was so glad she had me. And so like, I never felt like I was in her way. I did feel like I could be in her way, like in life. Like if I made the house messy or whatever, she'd be like, "You need to participate. You need to be part of this like family economy. I'm not your slave." But she always made me feel treasured. And it wasn't like by like, "You're so beautiful," like you perform. It was just like, "I treasure you." And like with my 3 kids, I looked forward to having kids my whole life. I've always wanted to have 8 kids. It's been my thing. Will God give me 8 kids? I don't know. But I always looked forward to having kids and having a family because I really liked the way that I was mothered. And I think that has a lot of, I think that we want to be mothers, one, because like we're driven intrinsically to do it, but also we're like, wow, I really either want to do this better than I had, or I want to do it the same, right? And so I grew up feeling special, treasured, that my mom was glad to have me. To a T? You're so proud of your brother. Whereas I feel like in Vincent's family, Vincent's whole family revolved around him because of his baseball. So there was a lot of pressure on him to do well in baseball. And he was very, very good at practice, and then struggled at the game, right?
That's right.
And why do you think that is? Little therapy sesh, Dr. Vin.
Lots of reasons. Probably a lot of performance anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Because who did you have to perform for?
Myself?
You're really helping me out with this talk, babe.
You're asking the questions. I'm just listening.
But Vin's family, he was a travel baseball guy. So they'd have to drive hours to go to his game. They'd be at his game until 10 o'clock at night. I asked at Karen's birthday dinner the other day, I said, Thomas, what did you do for your 5th birthday? And everyone was like, we were probably at a game for Vincent. And I was like, wow. Like, I never, and so like, does Thomas feel some kind of way about that? Does Thomas feel like his birthday's not important? I don't know. It made me want to dive in a little deeper. Was that the time? No, because asking questions is very forthcoming for our family, as you can see. But those are some of the things. So I feel like if you sat down with your siblings and kind of had like a chat about, my sister says all the time, and now we're 15 years apart, that I did not have the same mom as her.
It's true though.
Yeah, it is true.
My siblings say that I'm the favorite because how my mom mothered us versus them.
But honestly, now that I've had kids, I'm like, well, I definitely sucked more as a mom for Vincent.
Yeah.
And like the learning that Vin and I have had before Honora, we say it all the time. We are the best parents to Honora that we've ever been because we've just had 2 kids. We've read more books. We've had more experience. We've been around more children. We've helped people manage different things. And so I think when our kids are closer together like this, like how Hazel and Hobie are, or how Karen and Vincent are, they're not going to be able to say like, oh, you had a completely different mother, but you're still going to be a better and different mother because of it, or father. But I think it would be interesting to have like a kid survey. Dr. Vin's grandfather just passed away, and he did an interview video. So he interviewed everybody about his papa, and it was really cool. 2 things I would say: please take videos of your parents, especially when they're with their siblings and like they're telling old stories. You'll never get that back. 2, he interviewed his papa like a year and a half ago and asked him all these like, what was it like growing up in Puerto Rico and all these different things. Like, it was really cool for him to have that when papa was in heaven. But then he did a video and he interviewed everybody, and everybody talked about how papa made them feel. Because that's what people remember about you, right? Like, your kids aren't going to remember that you had a perfectly curated toy cabinetry area. They're not going to remember that you had a perfectly decorated house. They're not going to remember that they ate only organic foods, right? They're going to remember how they felt. Like, they're going to remember that our family sat down at dinner and we talked about our day, or we prayed before meals, or whatever your traditions and your things are. They're going to remember like what bedtime was like. Like, there's 9 minutes of every kid's day that are super important. It's the first 3 minutes when they wake up. It's the first 3 minutes when you see them like coming home from school, or like you were separated from them. So if you don't have that 3 minutes, you're already killing it. Might be after that nap, those first 3 minutes, and then the 3 minutes before they go to sleep. So again, there's a whole bunch of people who talk about like you just have to manage those 9 minutes, because those feelings are what they're going to carry through.
Yes, I feel like just to kind of not just leave a problem, but like, what do we do instead of praising? There's 3 things that it says, and I'm going to add a 4th one that it adds it in a little bit different way. So the first one says, describe what you see. So rather than saying good, great, fantastic, you can describe, I see a clean floor, a smooth bed, and neatly books lined up on the shelf. And so you just describe that, and so that's where, again, like the kid goes down the slide, you say, man, you went down the slide. And instead of saying good job, you can just say what you see. The second thing is describe what you feel. It's a pleasure to walk into this room. Again, now that all these things are done. The third thing says sum up the child's praiseworthy behavior with a word. And this is a part that I thought was really good, and that was actually the 4th one. We're just like, especially as we're trying to teach our kids, because now Vincent is 7, almost 7, Karen's 5. where I'm really trying to, probably about a month or so ago, I took a deep dive into like emotions and how we experience emotions and just emotional development in and of itself. And a part of what we read initially with our kids, with all kids, especially like this age is perfect, is that they go through so many things that they don't know how to describe. And a part of that breeds frustration. It's like, I'm feeling a certain thing, but I don't even know what it is. And so many books have different iterations of the same thing. The best one that I remember is Name It to Tame It. So like if they're having an emotion that is kind of making them go kind of crazy, just name that emotion for them so they can say, man, I do feel X, Y, or Z, or I don't feel that, I feel something different. But the only way that they can start learning that is by describing it. And so the woman said in the book, let me just read it, there were 3 examples that she gave where, again, one was, it looks neat and tidy. I'm not going to be able to find it.
Vincent, like a one word. I'm thinking like wow, or do you mean like clean? Like
it's like in it. Yeah, I'm gonna pull them up.
So Vincent cleaned the room this morning because watch your fingers, Hazel. There you go. Good, moving that hand.
You want to read this, or you want to go?
Whoa, you fell.
The 3. The 3 examples she gave was, you've been working to memorize that vocabulary list for over an hour. Now that's what I call perseverance. And so the word is perseverance, and you guys kind of decorate it based off of what you're seeing. You said you'd be home at 5 o'clock and it's exactly 5. That's what I call punctuality. You noticed that the plants were dry and you watered them. That's what's known as taking initiative. And so just like and I think that's where, again, like character trait wise, almost just calling it out in your kids. And I think, again, it's a very good thing for dads to be able to see and recognize and identify, just like there are certain giftings that we all have. And so like taking that, calling it out in your child so then they can feel that, because then they can start walking into that identity, as opposed to waiting for somebody else in the world around them or their friends or their peer group to start calling out those things. And that's when it gets kind of scary and dangerous.
So the other thing is, I don't want you guys to like never use words of affirmation, right? Because that's some people's love language. It's my love language. So I cleaned the house yesterday and I was like, what does everybody think about what I did? Because I want to hear that it's good. Like, I was like, can we just celebrate? I said to Vincent, my son, I said, how does it feel in here? He's like, feels clean, Mom. Feels clean. Like, he was like, yeah, I like it, right? Today I was having him pick up his room. Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah, he's okay. He's just trying to get this paper. Oop, boop, Hobie Dobie. Oh, Hobie. Oh, Hobie Wobie. Let's try over here.
Nora, just get your baby.
Get your baby, honey. So I have him clean his room, and he's like, oh, I don't want to do this. And I was like, I know, man. I have to clean my room, too. You want to see how messy mine is? And he was like, wow, it's really messy. I was like, yeah, it's because I dumped out all these clothes that Nora's going to fit in now onto the floor. Because I didn't want to put them in the drawer with the clothes that were too small. But I needed an outfit. And then that was 5 days ago. And so I was like, I have to pick it up, but I have to empty the drawer. Yeah, it's like this.
Right now, except also I'm moving.
Yes. It's like a whole thing. And so he's like, wow, Mom, your room's really messy. And I was like, it really is, buddy. So I'm going to work on this room. You work on yours. And he was like, can you just help me? And I said, I will help you by telling you what to do next. Because that's another thing that's really hard for kids. If you're like, you need to clean this room. They're like, so I was like, hey, bud, let's pick up the books first. I said, I was like, I bet if you pick up Karen's dress-up dress. He's like, why do I have to pick up Karen's stuff? I was like, Karen's at school. I said, last week I cleaned your whole room for you and reorganized it, right? He's like, yeah. And I said, and what were you doing? He's like, I was in the pool. And I was like, yeah. So sometimes we have to clean when other people aren't here. But he was cleaning, and then he came into the room where I was cleaning, and he goes, do you want to look and see the room? And I said, do you feel like it's ready for me to come in? And he was like, let me go check. Because he's like, I know what she wants. She wants nothing on the floor. Dr. Vin did the same thing. He's like, go look in the kitchen, babe. I said, all right, I just want to set my expectations. Am I going to be disappointed, or am I going to be really happy? And he's like, I'm guessing disappointed, but it's definitely better than it was when you went in there before. And so I went out there and I was disappointed. And he was like, it's the sink, isn't it? It's the sink. I knew you were going to say it's the sink. And I was like, yeah, we can't have a clean house with a full sink, right? But having this conversation, but Vincent said, Mom, I really want you to see my work. And I said, wow, buddy, it feels so good in here, doesn't it? I was like, don't you love that this is clean? Thanks for your hard work today. And he was like, oh, great. I didn't say good job cleaning your room. At least I don't think I did. I work really hard on that. I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure I said, you did it, bud. You got it all done. Can you get dressed for the day? And he was like, yeah, I'll get dressed. And then when he got dressed, instead of throwing his clothes on the floor, because when the floor is messy, he just makes it messier, he put them right in the hamper.
Okay, I'm going to leave you in the middle, Boogie, because I got to take your sister potty. Can you pass it back there? I don't know if that's safe.
We'll watch him. Can you feed your baby, Honora? The bottle? Can you give your baby the bottle? So perseverance is a great word, and the Vincent would say, what is perseverance? You want that, baby? He'll be like, what's perseverance? And then we have to figure out how to define it to a 7-year-old. And then we'll be like, that showed ingenuity. But the other thing we did, and I recommend this, is that one day we sat on the bed and we talked about everybody's best thing that they did. We talked about like, what is the thing that they bring to the party? And the easiest one to remember is that Karen is the best finder of all time. There is nothing Karen can't find. And we have said that to her so much that Vin was like, Mom, I can't find the sheath for my sword, because that's our whole life. And Karen's like, well, I'm the best finder, so I'll find it. Literally came right out of her mouth, and then she went into the room, found it, and was like, see, it was right there, Vincent. I found it. And he's like, that's because you're the best finder. Aww. And so we all talked about like what are the things that we're the best at, and how glad we are that like God put all of those traits in our family team.
I feel like even that though is probably not the best way that we could word that. Because if she's the best finder and then she can't find something, then she'll stop trying to find it.
Well, and we've managed that. You're right.
I think I would say maybe telling her that she's very observant.
Yeah, that would be better.
Then I think that would be, again, a character trait worth praising.
Too deep. She's already the best finder.
Yeah. Could always change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Gotta flex a new muscle.
you're always training.
We have to change.
That's the other thing too, is like we're always training ourselves and we're always training our kids. So like Vin will get really frustrated or I'll get really frustrated and we'll focus on, we haven't trained well on that. Go. I love you. Are you gone forever? Is this our last time together?
No, I'll come back.
Okay.
I'll come back. I'll be back next week before I go to Boston. Bye. Thank you guys. I love you.
How was your first week without Jacob?
Not good.
How did bedtime go?
The first night, it didn't go.
Yeah.
The whole night.
Yeah.
The whole night. Yeah.
Yeah, the first two nights were going to be the worst.
Yeah. And then I was trying to call him, in the middle of the night because she literally wouldn't sleep the whole night, and his phone, I don't know, he puts it on Do Not Disturb.
Must be nice.
So, I know. When my phone's on Do Not Disturb, he still comes to. Anyway, he's been doing much better, and also she had to get used to being at my mom's house. Yeah. So it's been interesting. We're excited to see him tomorrow. So that'll be great. Didn't realize how much he did around the house.
Maybe you can birth that baby. Maybe you can feed that baby with.
So I'm excited to see him.
Yeah. So it'll be. So what my wife advice would be to be like, you're a really important part of our family. Yeah. There's so much, and I wouldn't even say they didn't get done, but I felt your loss in so many ways. Like, I'm so thankful for what you provide for our family, because that's what men love, like that provision, that respect. And to say that to him, he's just going to be like, I do. So there's my wife advice to you.